You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, ladies? How y'all doing? It is your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Ladies Lounge. Welcome to the lounge, ladies. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure you subscribe. If you come in, please hit that like button in case you forget to hit the like button on the way out. I would gladly appreciate it. So moving further along, exclusive premiere. Why the married man is happier with his Jezebel while he is married. So, we can definitely agree that the side chicks have not had a very good season. We've been seeing how a lot of these different situations have been unraveling. We've seen Kevin Hunter and Wendy Williams' ex-husband, how Sharina Hudson has currently decided to leave Kevin once his house went up for foreclosure. Once the alimony check stopped, we see how that played out. And we've definitely seen with Martell, which I like to call the Motel 6 because he is the devil himself. We've definitely witnessed how his luck has played out, ever since he made the ultimate decision to disrespect his vows, not honor his vows, to break his covenant with the Lord and Savior by committing adultery. And we pretty much are witnessing how his luck has played out, with him not being able to be successful. Every business venture he has tried has been a flop. His wine didn't get anywhere, didn't hear anything else about the underwear. Then he called himself trying to do projects, with his son that he had outside of his marriage that he committed adultery with. The little helmet, we see that's not getting anywhere. And we seen with Ariane Appetizer or Ariane Air Mattress, Ariane Airhead, whichever you prefer to call her, we've seen everything she's tried become an epic fail as well. She's been trying to start her own businesses. She's been trying to start clothing line, all of these different things that she's been trying to create and put together. That has been an epic fail as well. So, I felt it was imperative that I really went more into detail on this. Why the married man is happier with his Jezebel while he is married. Martell has hit a very miserable stage in his life, and the misery pretty much started setting in for him when Melanie decided to withdraw from the marriage. And Melody made the decision, I've tolerated, I've taken more than I should have. And when he knocked up Air Mattress, that was the deal breaker right there. You have some women who can get past a man, their husband having a child on outside of the marriage, but for the most part, most women are not going to tolerate that level of disrespect. And you really cannot blame them, because that child is forever indebted, until the day he or she passes, or vice versa, you or your husband does. And it's an eyesore, because it's a constant and consistent reminder of the betrayal and the disrespect that took place every time you see that child. That child is a symbol of that disrespect. So, Melody decided, to take the high road and walk away and terminate her marriage, which righteously so. She needed to do that. And seeing the way Martell continuously has disrespected all the way up until this point, that was one of the best decisions she could have made. And believe me, I am a hopeless romantic. I believe in, when it comes to marriage, give it all you got. Fight for it till you can't fight anymore. I believe in people not giving up and throwing in the towel. But in this case with Martell, based off his arrogance, his greed, it was very much warranted. And I think the majority of people who've been following this show feel the same. No one has any empathy or sympathy for Motel 6 and Arion Air Mattress. It's just a done deal. So, as we've been noticing, we've been witnessing Martell really spiral out of control. And he has done everything he could to really break Melody. But what he doesn't realize is that he had already broken Melody so much to the point that when he did start coming out of full force, her skin had already toughened up over the years of the mental abuse, emotional abuse, and I'm gonna say allegedly physical abuse. Again, everything I'm saying in this content is based off of my own opinion. Everything is alleged, so this is my disclaimer. This is just based off my mere opinion. So when a woman, a wife, has taken years of mental, emotional, and physical abuse, what tends to happen is it becomes Novocaine, to the point to where it does not affect her the same way compared to a woman who's just experiencing it for the very first time. Because what Martell did over the years, he thought he was breaking her, but what he did was built her to become resilient and to become tougher and stronger, and everybody does not have that same tenacity or amount of strength. Some women get in this situation and they break all the way down. They turn to drugs, or they just completely give up on life, and they keep withering away in a miserable marriage, to where they're not taking care of their health, they're not looking good, not keeping themselves up, not going to the gym. You have some women that stay in marriages and wither. Like I noticed with Wendy Williams, the longer she was staying with Kevin Hunter, she was withering. We was noticing how she was aging drastically in the face, the excessive lost weight. So you have some women that would just wither, and you just have other women in Melody's case who they just get stronger. They start planning more businesses, they start stacking up more bread, they just start building themselves up to finally get to that place to where, okay, now I know I can set myself free. I done accumulated all these businesses. I done accumulated X amount of dollars into my savings account. So now I can be at ease knowing I can leave this situation and not ever have any regrets. And as much as people like to go in on Melody and discredit her for taking so much, she actually did it the right way, because sometimes you have to take a lot in order for you to finally get to that broken place where you realize this is it. Some people take a lot, but when they have finally reached that broken place, once they reached it, there's absolutely nothing you can do to win that person back. Because we've seen friends, girlfriends who leave unhealthy marriages, toxic relationships, only go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because her mind wasn't really made up, and maybe she didn't go through enough to really get to that broken point in which she realizes, I have to leave this situation. So all women are different, and it doesn't make none of us better than the other. You have some women, one sign of one smit of disrespect, they are out of there. They're taking the kids, they're taking the house, they're taking the cars. They not even going to let it build and accumulate. Then you have others that go back and forth, go back and forth. 1 minute they feel strong enough to leave. Then, this toxic dude calls them back. Baby, I'm so sorry I did you so wrong. I'm going to do better. I'm going to go to church every Sunday. I'm going to cut the grass. I'm going to take the kids to the park every day. And then you let your guard down, and then you let him back only for him to do something much worse than what he's done the last time. So it's like a ping pong back and forth situation until he's done so much and she's seen him repeat over and over and over. He does just enough to win her back, only to go back and do the same thing. So she finally gets to that broken place to where, okay, that's it. Then you have some like Melody who didn't leave on a drop of a dime, who didn't do the ping pong back and forth. She allowed years of disrespect. And the only good part about that is when a person has done so much damage, they help you, they give you the clarity you need in order to really make you know that once you have finally ended that journey with them, that you've done the right thing. Because there's enough of years of proof and evidence that this man is just not going to do right. He's not going to ever change. So you don't have to do that ping pong effect where you got to wonder. Basically, he can't fool you anymore because you've seen this pattern for years. No more than a criminal offender who has committed a crime and is being adjudicated, has to face a judge during the hearing. And that judge goes back and looks at his criminal history and see that he has an extensive history of violating and being insubordinate to the law in these years. There's a track record, there's a criminal record displaying that. That judge knows without a shadow of a doubt that this defendant, this offender, there's no way we can release him and let him reintegrate back into society because he has a history of being a habitual violator. And he's basically institutionalized. He's never going to be able to function back into society without repeating the same behaviors. It's just not in him because you know why? There's too many years of that same character in him that's been violating these crimes. So when the judge decides to hand him this sentence, guess what? The judge, without a shadow of a doubt, know in they right body and spirit that they made the right choice. No different than a faithful wife like Melody, who's been consistent, been faithful, hoping for the best, praying for the best. And as a wife, that is what you're supposed to do. But you have a lot of women who like to knock and tear down other women who, you know, can take a lot more, have a lot more patience, stretching themselves all the way to the limit. And like I said, every woman is different. You got some women, they're going to cut it right then and there. And you got some who going to go back and forth. And you got some that would allow it to accumulate multiple times over the years. So when they leave, they have no doubt. There's no second guessing. There's no looking back because you got all those years as a reference guide. It is bold and so final in your face. And Melody knew once he had that little helmet, that was the end. He already had did way too much, but that was the final that was the final call on that closed the curtains basically. So we've seen your boy Motel 6, known as Martel Hope, just derail. And his luck has continued to decline. I have not seen him progress since the divorce with Melody. We have not seen no progress, no success since the termination of his marriage. So, as we know, this has not stopped him from not fornicating with Arion, Air Mattress, and dealing with other women such as Sheree. And I'm sure there's several others that have not come out and have exposed themselves yet. But we know, and I've even spoken this in my last live when I was chatting with all you ladies in the lounge. We've witnessed Arion suffer even more so since the divorce of Martel and Melody. She hasn't been getting the income all the side chick benefits, the 5-star dining cuisine restaurants, the money in which Martell was paying for her rented BMW. Martell was financing this wonderful lifestyle for Arion Air Mattress during his duration of being married to Melody, because again, like we all know, he was taking money out of their account to supply his Jezebel. So when the divorce came about, so did the ending of Martell having access to the bank accounts to keep supplying his mistress. So when the well started going dry, so did, you know, the outside relationship, the fantasy, the fun, the thrill started going dry as well. So you have to realize this as I go into breaking down all of the factors why the married man is happier with his Jezebel while he is married. First of all, you have to realize that when it comes to marriage, marriage is like a full-time job. You know, if you put aside all the wonderful things like the wedding dress, the honeymoon, flying to Paris and France, when it boils down to it, marriage is a full-time job. It becomes a full-time responsibility. And let's face it, unlike other jobs where you get days off, you get paid vacations, marriage, there's no days off. You know, it's a full-time dedication that requires you to give so much more of yourself, more than what you want to give at times. So for Martell, marriage became a responsibility, and that is marriage. Marriage is a responsibility. So while Mel played her role as a wife, she held the fort down. She's going out there, you know, stepping outside into the world, hustling, making things happen, you know, developing these businesses and coming up with all of these creative, you know, business ideas and things of that nature. This left the responsibilities of the things that Mel couldn't take care of. This left it on Martell for him to take care of. So primarily, Martell became responsible for the children, the house, and whatever other house husband duties, shall we say, that he had to become responsible for. And like anything else, marriage does get boring. It does get stale, you know, and that's a part of marriage. Don't let nobody sit up here and fool you and make you believe if you're married, you're supposed to always be happy no matter what. Idealistically, realistically, it does not work that way in the real world. It's going to be days it's going to be plenty of days you're going to be bored. It's going to be days where you don't feel like sexing him. He don't feel like sexing you. Y'all don't feel like, you know, always going out, having a romantic evening. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be times you're going to argue. You're going to disagree. It's things that's going to come up. Family issues with the in-laws, financial issues. Things are going to come up. Things are going to happen. So, like anything else, because Martell really had nothing going for himself other than just being a house husband and sitting in the background, acting and pretending, putting up that role like he was a productive husband when really he was a background singer, and Martell and Melody was the Beyonce, pretty much leading, doing it all, doing everything, while he was just a Michelle Williams, sitting in the background looking as if he's contributing, and he's not really contributing to do anything. So the marriage life became redundant, and this is where discipline and having spiritual boundaries, this is when it is necessary. Learning and understanding that even when you go through those droughts in your marriage where everything is not at its best course, the finances are drying up, the sex life is drying up, this is still when you have that spiritual discernment and understand that even though we're in a rocky place, we're in a dry place, a stale place, this does not grant me access to go out there and fulfill, look for fulfillment outside of my marriage because I'm going through a drought or a dry spell. So Martell, against his better judgment, because marriage became routine, it became routine taking care of the kids, feeding the kids, holding everything down, while Mel is the one out there hustling. Like I said before, a man without a plan, a man without a purpose will partake in pleasure. And that is what Martell started doing. Instead of Martell going out there grinding with Melody, not always using, not hiding behind being a full-time father so you could escape the responsibilities of being a real man, going out here hustling, starting your own business ventures, making things happen. You sit in the background and you let your wife do everything. So it gave you too much time on your hands, and I get it. Being a parent is very busy. It is a full-time job, so I would not discredit anybody who just stays home and takes care of their children, because I've been a housewife for many, many, many years, and I'm a housewife now. Only difference is my daughter is grown and I don't have any little ones or whatever. But I do a lot of stuff at home that women who work don't have to do. But my work is very heavy, holding down the house, the front yard, keeping up with the maintenance, doing everything that my husband is not here to do. And it's only fair because he's the one that's the primary breadwinner, and he's the one out there actually, doing the labor, doing the footwork. So everything that happens in this house or goes down in this house is on me. I have to make sure everything is kept up. That's our role, and we are comfortable with our position. However, if I didn't have a purpose, if I didn't find my purpose as a wife, most of my purpose will go into pleasure. And that's what happened with Martell, because he was not being productive and didn't have a plan. He automatically started pursuing pleasure. A man without a plan who's not productive will pursue pleasure. Remember those 4 P's. A man with a plan must be productive. If not, he will pursue pleasure that will eventually lead to what? Pain, which is the 5th P. So I know that's a lot to digest, but we're just going to keep the rhythm flowing. So as the routines from home, being a house husband started getting dull because he had nothing else going for him, that is when he started partaking in pleasure, hanging out with Maurice and Marceau, going to parties, going to sports bars, having drinks with the fellas. And sure enough, that is when he eventually ran into Ariane Airhead. They met at some type of after party, some type of get together, I don't know, some type of bar or lounge or whatever. But that's what ended up happening. And this is not to say men who are productive or are exempt from falling into pleasure, but the chances are even higher when a man has nothing going for himself. He's not fulfilling himself by keeping himself active. The more active, the more busier a man is, the more driven he is, there's less room for error, because he realizes he has too much to lose. And a man who's productive, who's constantly building, the less he wants to partake and get himself involved in meaningless situations that's going to cause him to lose everything he done built. But if you're not building anything, there's nothing for you to consider losing. You get my drift? If that makes sense. You have to have something going for you in order for you to weigh the pros and the cons when it comes to your pleasure. Is this worth losing? And other than his marriage, which should have been his main ultimate objective of what he could possibly have lost, he did not have anything personally built for himself to make him not want to take these risks that, of course, he made the decision to take. So he started going out to these functions, met up with Ariane, exchanging numbers, and that's pretty much where everything pretty much started going downhill from there. Because everything, most adultery, most situations that lead to sin of sexual immorality and leading to temptation. It starts with conversation. Conversation leads to temptation, which ends up in a situation. Okay? So that's how it starts. First James verses 13 through 14 says, no one undergoing a trial should say, I am being tempted by God, since God is not tempted by evil, and he himself doesn't tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when he is drawn away and enticed by his own evil desires. So in other words, this was a evil desire Martell always had to begin with. This is why it was so easy for him to be lured by his mistress, Ariane Air Mattress, because Martell already had whorish tendencies and Jezebel male ways. It was already in him to begin with. So it did not take much for him to take the bait. And that's what ended up happening. So as time went on and he continued to keep partaking in sexual relations with Ariane Air Mattress during the duration of his marriage, that is when things continue to progress between Ariane and Martell. That is when he started taking money from out of the household, supplying Ariane, giving Ariane the privileges of something she did not earn as a wife, that she did not deserve as a wife. Not only was he supplying Ariane by taking money out of the household, but he was continuously having sex with this woman on the regular basis. Not only that, he actually started emotionally investing himself into Ariane by spending a lot of time with her. This was not a wham bam, thank you ma'am, I hit it, quit it, and split it type thing. He actually was developing a whole nother life outside of his marriage with Ariane, to the point they are traveling, they're going places together, and this is a whole nother level of disrespect. The disrespect was already from the start when he first got involved. But at this point in time, that's the thing about sin. Sin has no boundaries. Once you start sinning in one area, you start sinning in other areas. The ball continues to go downhill, and that's basically what happened. So he actually, this was not just an affair. Martell had a full-term relationship. So he had a marriage and a full-time relationship outside of his marriage. Because this was a woman he started investing emotions and feelings. It went past a deeper level of physical. Physical is one thing, and it still doesn't give you a pass. But once emotions start becoming invested, now it's a whole nother level of disrespect, if that makes sense to any of you as you're listening to this chat in the lounge. So what ended up happening was, over time, as Martell was fulfilling his fantasies with Ariane, he still had the benefits of being a family man. So basically, Martell was living the best of both worlds. Okay, he had the best of both worlds. And if you think about it, to make it kind of a little bit more simple, where I could kind of break it down for y'all, where y'all can kind of understand a little bit better. For instance, it's kind of like if you are you have people, put it this way, you have people that deal with stress, or deal with the everyday pressures of the world, just being a wife, just being a husband, just being a parent. We all have different obstacles that we deal with in our lives that are very stressful. And we all have a different coping mechanism on how we deal with it. You got some people who deal with their stress by going to the gym. Okay? They done had a long week at work. The boss done stressed them out. The kids done stressed them out. The wife, the husband, whatever. They go to the gym. That's how they work out their frustration. That's how they deal with maintaining under pressure. Everyday daily struggles. Or if not, you have some people, they go to church. They go to church, being a member of church, fellowshipping with other, people who also want to connect with God. And that is how they deal with their coping mechanism, by having a stronger relationship with God. Those are more positive, healthier ways of dealing with life's challenges and everyday stress. Typical stressors. Go to the gym, you read, you exercise, you go to church. Those are healthy coping mechanisms. Then you have your unhealthy coping mechanisms, in which how people choose to deal with their problems by alcohol. You got some people who drink a lot. That is how they deal with their everyday life stressors. They go get a drink. They keep a cupboard at home full of alcohol, full of liquor, full of gin, full of whiskeys. That is an unhealthy coping mechanism. A drink every once in a while is fine, but when you got to constantly drink to medicate yourself of everyday life stressors, that's an unhealthy coping mechanism. If they don't drink, they use drugs. You have some people who constantly have to do drugs, some type of recreational drug, whether if that's marijuana, or whether if that is taking prescribed pills, painkillers, again, another unhealthy coping mechanism. Or worst case scenario, one of the worst, which is what Martell chose to use as a coping mechanism, is having sex outside of his marriage. You have some people, men and women, that is one of the most unhealthy coping mechanisms that they choose to relieve themselves. But you have some men and women who can only find could only find relief, could only find peace and comfort by having sex with other people. And believe it or not, this is not just a problem men have. Women do it too. When women don't feel desired, or when women are stressed out, or dealing with certain situations in their lives that's too overwhelming for them, and they're not married, or in some cases some are married, they will have sex with other people as a way to relieve themselves. And that is that's exactly what Martell did. Martell basically got bored with his life of being a house husband, because again, like I told y'all before, he was a man without a plan. He was a man that wasn't productive. So being a house husband, it got boring for him. Because see, whether Martell wants to face it or not, Martell is the kind of man, the only way he's going to stay out of sugar, honey, iced tea, he's the type of dude, he has to constantly be doing something. He needs to be productive. When Martell has too much time on his hands, that is when he starts getting himself in all type of unpleasant situations. He's like a undisciplined child. Like you got children out here. We all have that one child. We know we got to keep them productive. We got to make sure they have a job. We got to make sure they're in some type of sports or doing something, because they get mischievous. They start getting in all kind of trouble because they're not productive. Martell is that mischievous, badass little child that if he does not have anything to do with himself, he will get himself into trouble. He has to constantly be productive. Now he's trying to do that by starting all these businesses, ventures, trying to start his own underwear line and trying to do the wine, all of that. He should have did that when he was married. He waited till he lost everything. Now you want to be productive. You should have been productive instead of being productive in somebody else's vagina. So that's what happened with Martell. Martell started getting bored with being a husband and being a father. Um, and that is when he started going out there pursuing and seeking pleasure, and that's when he ran into Arion. So keep in mind, while he's dealing with Arion, he still, but before his adultery was exposed and came to the surface, Martell had the pleasures of enjoying both worlds, and in a sense, it made him happy because he was still able to have the benefits of being Mel's husband, meaning the checks were still rolling in. Mel was still holding down the fort. Mel really wasn't really pushing or stressing him too much to do no more than what he was doing. Not only that, he had the benefits of having his children around him, being a father to him. I will say, I'm sure he loves his children, but he doesn't respect his children, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. So he had that benefit of still being able to have that luxury of being a family man. But when he went through those moments of getting bored and getting tired or weary of being just a father and a husband, now Arion air mattress was filling in the gaps of the pleasure, meaning that when I'm tired of sitting home with my kids, when I'm tired of going to these board meetings with Mel and these conferences with Mel, when I go through my dry spells, when I'm getting bored or I'm just not in my space of happiness with being a family man, I know I can always have this to fall back on. Arion came in as the pleasure producer. She produced the pleasure. She was the one that fulfilled the blowjobs, the giving them head. She was the one that fulfilled all the sexual fantasies that he felt he wasn't able to get from home. So at this point in time, Martell was very happy. He was happy. He was able to have his cake and eat it too. He was enjoying all the fruits, of everything he was getting from his wife and everything he was getting from his mistress. So Martell, at this point in time, he really thought he had it going on. He really started smelling himself. But what tends to happen when a man begins to partake in too much pleasure, he starts to become very bigoted and arrogant, because now he has this outside chick that is stroking his ego, whispering in his ear during a love sex session. You know what I mean? Oh, you got a big one, daddy. You make me feel good, daddy, and this and that. So while he's smashing his side chick who's boosting his ego, now when he comes home and there's problems at home and the wife is starting to notice, you are getting out of character. You leaving later and later, because one thing about it, when a man starts indulging too much, when he starts to overly indulge in pleasure, he starts getting sloppy. He starts becoming irresponsible. So now the wife starts catching on. This is what pleasure does. Pleasure will make you neglect your priorities. And that is what happened. He had became more and more comfortable and more heavily involved with Arion, to the point he started neglecting his house husband duties. Because listen, when it comes to pleasure and priorities, eventually pleasure is going to win. The flesh is going to have its way. The flesh is going to win every time. Initially, when him and Arion were just talking, he was probably balancing it out and still taking care of the home front and, doing his little thing on the side. But the more he got involved with Arion, the flesh started taking over. And when the flesh takes over, you no longer adhere to the spirit. The spirit, which is called spiritual discernment, will keep you in check and say, wait a minute, hold up, pump the brakes, buddy. You're spending too much time with this woman. You're neglecting your priorities on the home front. You're not helping the kids with their homework as much. You're not going to many conferences and board meetings and all of that, because what happens is pleasure takes a lot of your energy. So therefore, you no longer can place your energy and prioritize it where it belongs, because again, the flesh is taking over now. So you're not even able to catch yourself and realize that you're doing too much. But it's the people outside of you who are catching on, who are figuring it out. No, you are doing too much. And let me tell you something. Flesh hates to be called out. Nothing pisses flesh off more than when you start calling it out. Because that's letting the enemy know, I know what you're up to, and I know what you're doing. And that is what Mel started doing. Mel started noticing that Martell was so overly indulging into his pleasures that he started disrespecting and neglecting his home front. Now because Martell wants to start putting more time into the pleasure, now he's trying to gaslight and deflect by telling Mel, you're not home with the kids enough. See, check this out how the enemy, let me tell you, pay attention, because this is a lot that y'all gonna have to grasp, ladies. Because Martell had become so consumed with the flesh, so consumed with his pleasure, what ended up happening was he started trying to pass the bucks. No, he didn't start trying. He was passing the priorities to Mel so he can partake more into the pleasure. Now you're trying to deflect by you're never home with the kids, because what it is, you want to neglect and abandon the kids so you can start putting more energy into your pleasure. You want your wife to come in and fill those shoes that you was okay with filling those shoes until Airhead Mattress, the mistress, started coming into your life, giving you all this pleasure. You wanted to put more time into that. Now you're so annoyed with your wife all of a sudden. You've been keeping the kids. You've been knowing your wife is a hustler and she's a business-minded person. You ain't had no problems with the way your marriage was set from the beginning. But once you started partaking into pleasure, you find everything wrong. And that's how you know when a man is committing adultery. He starts complaining about stuff. You didn't cook my eggs right. You was supposed to pay the light bill on the 15th. Why you waited till the 16th? Why the grass ain't cut? Knowing it's always been his responsibility to cut the grass. He's slowly but surely pushing all the responsibilities on you because he wants to partake more in his pleasure. So this is where the manipulative tactics start coming in. You're never home with the kids. I need you to spend more time with the kids. You want me to spend more time with the kids because you want to spend more time with the mistress. You're complaining about the food. You're complaining about now you're going so far because the more deeper you get into overly indulging into your pleasure, now your ego has also quadrupled at an all-time high to the point to now you're saying, I'm not satisfying you. Let me tell you what Martell meant by that. Where Martell said, you're not satisfying me. Let me tell you what he really meant. And I know a lot of y'all remember that episode. When he sat up there and he tried to hurt Mel and hit below the belt by saying, you're not satisfying me. This is what he meant. Sexually, that was part of it. Because I know as a woman, when a man says, you're not satisfying me, that's the first thing you're going to think about. Okay, he's saying I'm not giving him enough sexually. That was part of it. But let me tell y'all the other part about it that y'all didn't peep that I did. The other part was, you're not satisfying me, meaning you're not taking all of these priorities away from me so I can overindulge and put more of my time and energy into receiving pleasure. I'm annoyed because you still want me to be responsible for things as a man inside the home when I really rather be inside somebody else's bed. You're not satisfying me because you're still expecting me to be a man. You're still expecting me to be a husband. You're expecting me to be a father. Well, all I really want to do is just be a whore. I want to be a male Jezebel. He started getting angry with Mel because what starts to happen with the man who commits adultery, when he overindulges and having sexual relations with the other woman, he feels at peace with the other woman because she's not expecting nothing of him. If anything, she's fulfilling all of his deeds and expecting very little in return. As for the wife at home, not only is she expecting, her man to please her sexually, but she's expecting you to take care of the kids. She's expecting you to take care of the house. She's expecting you to help with the business. See, on the family side, there's too much priorities. And when you start partaking in pleasure, you get annoyed with the priorities. And see, this is where lines get blurred. And this is where Martell messed himself up. He was having such a good time with Ariane air mattress because Ariane did not expect anything of him. And this is the thing about being a side chick. And this is how Ariane is finding out the harsh reality. You're going to always have a good time because there's nothing else invested in it. It's easy for a man to enjoy a woman when he doesn't have kids to take care of with her, which that ended up changing down the line, but just follow me. I'm talking about an initial beginning before a little helmet was conceived. Martell felt more satisfied with Ariane, not understanding the only reason he was feeling satisfied with her was because there was no responsibilities on that side. Ariane didn't make him be responsible for no more than what he wanted to be responsible for. Now with Mel, he had to be responsible not only for the things he didn't want to be responsible for, but for not only for the things he did want to be responsible for, but for also the things he didn't want to be responsible for. See, with Mel, he had more obligations and more responsibilities, which in turn but he felt more was a burden instead of a blessing, not realizing being a husband, being a family man is a blessing within itself. But because he was so busy over pleasuring himself, his family became a burden to him instead of a blessing. Now all of a sudden he wants Mel to spend more time with the kids, so he ain't got to spend time with the kids. Now he wants Mel to be home more so he can go home more. Okay? So with Ariane, as he's going to see this mistress, there's nothing over there but pleasure. There's no priorities. There's no responsibilities. Every time he went to see Ariane, it was a smash. It was a smash festival. All they did was screw several hours throughout the day. And because Martell is such a whore, a male Jezebel, it was constant and it was consistent. And because Ariane, like most side chicks, they feel pressured. They have to always give it up because they know there's nothing else to keep them tied. She never told him no, which in actuality made Martell feel like he really had it going on. Because his wife over here, no, I can't have sex with you every night. I've been going to board meetings. I had to go get the kids from childcare. I got too much going on because you're so busy partaking in your pleasure. You have left me with all the priorities. And now you're angry with me because I won't give you all the pleasures. Because you left me with all the priorities. Not taking into consideration, you already getting all the pleasures over here. So that's why over here you felt so satisfied. It's easy for a woman to deal with your BS when all she is getting is your penis. Ariane, she's dealing with it now, but she wasn't dealing with what Mel had to deal with. When a woman is only seeing you in short supplements of time, it's easier to have a good time with a woman that you don't have no responsibilities with, that you don't have any obligations with. Any obligations with. She a woman who doesn't have to invest anything else in you, of course she's going to be awesome at blowjobs and everything else, because at the time she didn't have any of your children she had to take care of. She's not holding down your house. She's not holding down no businesses. So of course this woman was able to give you the best 5 minutes of your life every time she saw you. So basically, at this point in time, Martell is getting frustrated because he wants the best of both worlds, but he realized he can't actually have them the same way he wants them. He wants more of the pleasure, so he starts shifting more of the priorities to Melanie. So this is where the deflecting and the narcissistic behavior comes in at, because he starts twisting things. Well, nobody told you to get all these businesses. Nobody told you to be doing all these board and conferences. You need to spend more time with the kids, because at this point he's trying to wean himself away from the father and daddy duty so he can get more booty. That's what he wants to do. So he's getting frustrated because at this point in time, Mel is getting on him, because she's noticing he's being neglectful and disrespectful. He's over here. Now he's not even being careful. He's not even crossing all his T's, dotting all his I's. In the beginning, he probably tried to be more careful. He probably would come home like an hour late, 30 minutes late. Next thing you notice, it goes from 1 hour to several hours. Sometimes he probably wouldn't come back till the next morning. And God forbid if Mel confronted him and got on him about it. This is where the narcissistic and the manipulative tactics starts really going to a whole nother level, because the actuality is he wants to do him now, and this woman is over here showing him a good time. And see, it's easy for somebody that you're smashing, that's only dealing with you and small supplements here and there. Y'all don't have kids together at the time. They didn't until before Little Helmet came. There was no obligations or responsibilities, and most of the time side chicks do always comply. Ariane has never turned Martell down, has never denied him, never declined him. You know why? Because that's all she had to offer. It's real easy to keep giving a man sex, giving him head, and giving him some in bed, because that is all you have to contribute. But when you are a wife and you got to take care of the kids, you got to take care of the house, you got to take care of the businesses, it becomes very overwhelming. You can't give but so much of yourself, especially when you're doing the majority of the work. And this is where the married person, this is where blurred lines start taking place, where you start losing your best judgment. You start thinking it's better over here because you're so used to getting what you want, and this person is making very little demands. And that's what it was with Ariane. Ariane knew that she wanted Martell, so in order to have Martell, she knew not to complain, she knew to comply, and whatever he wanted, to just give in to him, thinking that if I give in, if I just keep being submissive and cooperative, he'll see that I'm a good woman and he'll leave his wife and want to be with me. Not realizing that, no, in actuality, dear, you are creating a monster. You making this man get so used to just getting all of what he wants from you. When you finally get the common sense to say one day, I want more than this, he's going to look at you with the side eye like, oh, hell no, you not. All these years, you've been giving me everything I wanted. You're not going to place no demands on me now. You've been giving me all the head. You've been giving me all the booty. So who is you to be telling me what you want now? You've been giving me what you want. And see, that is where he starts to trap himself, because he done made himself get accustomed to the best of both worlds. So when you get tired, when you go through your motions, when you tired of smashing and dashing over there, you got a place where you can lay your head down. After you done got all you some head, now you go home and lay your head down now. Be with your kids. Now you go into those moments where you want to be a husband and you want to wine and dine or whatever, because you get so much of that over there. Now you done got a little tired of it. Then when you get tired of the family life, or when Mel starts getting on you about stuff that need to be done around the house, now you leave Mel and you run back over there to Ariane air mattress, let her suck you off a couple of more times. Then when Ariane starts bitching a little bit or crying or going through her emotions, I thought we was going to be together. How come you always got to leave? Then you go back over there. So you was able to ping pong, and this is how he trapped himself. He tried to use both of these women, But Martell ended up trapping himself because he made himself get accustomed to having the best of both worlds, not thinking that one day his world was going to end. And that's what ended up happening. So when Mel caught on to what he was doing, and she started reading in between the lines, picking up on all the signs, to coming home late, you talking at me nasty, you doing the most, because really you want me to accept you putting more time into your pleasure and being less productive. Now I'm sure if Mel would have never complained, let him do him, just took over all his roles, being a wife and being a husband and being a mother and being a father, as long as she would have went along with everything, Martell would have been good. But Martell underestimated his opponent. And like any other, in the words of R. Kelly, when a woman is fed up, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's exactly what happened. When Mel got fed up with his ass, she caught him off guard by divorcing him. Because you got to remember, he done got used to having these two lives. One can't function without the other. He was never going to be able to function with just Arion and not have Mel, or have Mel and not have Arion. He trapped himself. And that's where you have to be careful when you allow the flesh to take over and lead you. The flesh will make you codependent on things that aren't healthy for you. And now Martell has put himself in a whirlwind in which he cannot function without having both of these women. He's lost if he just has Mel without Arion, or he has Arion without Mel. That it's not going to work for him doing that. So what ended up happening was Melody shut the operation down. And when Melody shut the operation down, Martell's whole world spiraled out of control. Because he thought for sure he was gonna, this no longer was just a habit for Martell. A habit is something you do for a while and then you eventually stop. Martell made this a lifestyle. He made being a married man and a Jezebel his lifestyle. And once he did that, he put himself in a dangerous situation in which these two women was going to constantly be drained by Martell's shenanigans. So when Mel pulled the rug from up under his foot, she took away his foundation. Because truth be told, Martell, yes, he did want the pleasure. He wanted that, but he didn't want it without the priority of his family. He still wanted his support system. He didn't want Arion just to have her to himself. He wanted Arion with his marriage. He never wanted Arion air mattress. He wanted Arion air mattress in addition to his marriage. The proof is in the pudding. The marriage is gone. Now he has the free will to be with Arion, and he won't. He won't marry her. Another, if he do marry her, he'll probably be 60, 70 in a wheelchair by then. When he realizes nobody really wants him anymore, then he'll probably marry her. Somebody in the comment section said that, and that does make sense. He'll marry her then when he's about 75 in the wheelchair. And she'll be in her 50s and 60s, still pushing him around, trying to prove that she's always been a stand-up woman for him. So, back to the issue at hand. Martell was more happier with Arion when he was married to Mel. He wanted Arion as an addition to what he already had. Because Mel was still that gave him something that Arion couldn't give him. That stability, that maturity. that solid support, that solid foundation. He felt safe with Mel. He knew Mel had his back. He knew Mel was about something. He knew Mel was about that business. But Mel wasn't always about the pleasure. And see, he wanted that too. It's 80-20. He had 80% of what he wanted. It's that 80-20 rule. He had 80% of what he wanted, but he lost it over the 20%. Over a blowjob and somebody tossing his salad and booty. Lost a whole empire. And so, this is where Martell has ruined himself. He made himself accustomed to the best of both worlds. And now that he's only left with one of those worlds, and the world he was left with is not a good one. Would have been one thing if he lost Arion and still had his marriage. But in this turn, he lost his marriage and still got Arion, who is not worth anything compared to what he lost. This is what the flesh does. The flesh will make you believe that you're really in a good space. Nobody couldn't tell Martell anything when he was juggling these two women. He had his wife, his family life with his wife, and he had his mistress on the side who can please him as much as he wanted, and it totally derailed. He lost his marriage. He ended up having a child from the mistress, which put him right back in the same position he was trying to run away from. You were trying to run away from being a family man, from being a father. You was trying to run away from your responsibilities only to create a whole nother one. No shit, Sherlock. What bright thinking. Matthew 26 verse 41. Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And he done proved that. How everything you left, you right back in the same situation. You still got an obligation. You still ended up with a responsibility. See, it was fine when Arion didn't have no responsibilities. It was all pleasure and no priorities. Now they have a priority, which is Little Hellman. And because of that, that is what's going to kind of keep Martell distant from still not being able to give Arion all of what she wants. Martell was happier with Arion while he was with Mel. And even, like I said on my last content, even Arion was happier with Martell when Martell was with Mel. Martell could not survive without Mel. Even through all his pleasure, all of his BS shenanigans, he's finding out the hard way that he still couldn't do it. He still couldn't even be a hoe without Mel. Do y'all know how deep that is? This man couldn't even be a successful hoe without his wife Melody at his side. That's how deep this thing gets. First Corinthians chapter 10, 13th verse. No temptation has come upon you except what is common to humanity. But God is faithful. He will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation, he will also provide a way out so that you may be able to bear it. So let's not get it twisted. Martell has several opportunities, trust and believe, because his marriage was under a covenant. So God gave Martell ample amount of chances to get out of that situation before it got too deep. He had several close calls. This is not the first time Arion had gotten pregnant. This was not the first time Melody didn't catch him in the act. He had several chances, but he kept pushing his luck. So now, this is where it has landed him. It landed him into a broken place in which he lost his marriage, and he is stuck with the woman who really cannot build him like Melody was building him. And that's where his long suffering is going to continuously haunt him, because he was genuinely happier when he had the both of them in his reach. And most people, you have to keep this in mind, most people who commit adultery, they are greedy. They're greedy. So with greed, you're always seeking for something more. You can't have one without the other. It's this sense of overindulgence to where you don't limit yourself. You lack discipline. You lack discretion, in which you can't even tell yourself, look, that's enough. I done had too many close calls. Let me abort the mission before I get stuck, before I get trapped, before I end up way in over my head. He did not adhere, and because Martell has the spirit of rebelliousness, he rebels against his own self for his own good. Martell is his own worst enemy. While he's looking at Mel as the enemy, his ex-wife, and he's looking at his mistresses as the enemy who caused his downfall. Nobody caused his downfall no more than he did. Martell caused his biggest downfall because he would not submit to the word of God. And when you submit as a man to God, God will instruct you. He will give you order. He will give you the spirit of discretion to know, to be able to weigh the pros and the cons before you enter into a situation where you're so focused on the instant gratification that you don't look at the long-term damage. And that is the reason why Martell ended up, losing his marriage. He lost his marriage, he lost his family. And it does not matter what he does from here. It does not matter. It does not matter how many opportunities he's granted. It doesn't matter if he gets on another show, if somebody's desperate enough to, add him on as a cast member. It does not matter if somebody's desperate enough to go in partnership with Martell for a business. It does not matter. Martell stunted his growth when his ex-wife Melody divorced him, and he does not understand. As the saying goes, there's only up from here. In his case, it's only down from here. It's down from here. He will not progress, and he's never going to be happy because he put himself in a situation of entrapment. His happiness was based off of his marriage, because his marriage gave him the tools and the necessities he needed in order for him to be able to go out there and do the things that he did. But that was the very thing, the things that he did do within the marriage that he was able to benefit from, ended up being the very thing that caused him to lose the marriage. So in conclusion, whole bottom line is, like I stated, the whole purpose of doing this content was to basically, based off of my opinion, and all of this is alleged, I truly believe Martell was more happier with Ariane as long as he had Mel, as long as he still had his wife in his life. And this is the reason why he cannot function, and this is the reason why he's so angry with Mel. Mel pulled a rug from up under his foot. He became complacent. He basically grounded himself in a situation in which he wholeheartedly had to depend on both women. But Melody was his primary provider. She not only just financially she provided his confidence. She provided his image. I know everybody think it's a money thing, but that's not the only thing. It's been several things Melody provided for Martell that he'll never get. Ariane did not give him something he already wasn't getting. She gave him a child. He already had children. She gave him a son. He already had a son. So nothing about Ariane stands out for Melody. That there's nothing so significant about her to where Martell feels like he's in a winning place just having Ariane in his corner. It's not enough. And this is what men, women, anybody who goes out there and decide they want to fornicate and commit adultery, keep in mind that once you start partaking in these immoral sexual activities, you put yourself in a bind to which you become codependent on both. You can't have one without the other. And that is where Martell trapped himself, ladies. He trapped himself. He'll never be happy with Ariane because the other counterpart that played a role in him being happy with Ariane was Mel. Okay? And the fact that he lost Mel, he's never going to be happy with just Ariane. So anyway, y'all, I'm going to get ready to shut it down. I apologize, y'all, for the late upload. I had some technical difficulties as always. That's why I don't like to give a specific time until I know the video is finished and ready to go. Because things always happen for some strange reason when I give, I try to give y'all a time. So usually the one time you could, let me just put it this way. You pretty much know the show is going to start on time as if it's already been uploaded. And it's giving you a time when it's actually going to start. Like if you see the video and it's uploaded and y'all get a notification and it say the show starts at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever, it's for certain going to start because the video is already completed and YouTube has already been given the time when to start the video. You get what I'm saying? When to start the content versus me just posting. It's going to start at a certain time. I try to make good. I try to be a woman of my word and do what I tell y'all I'm gonna do. And being married to a businessman, it doesn't work like that. I had to stop in the middle of my recording and again go to his job site because he needed me to take care of some things for him. With the paperwork, so we could make sure the customers, the clients have signed and did their part in order for him to complete the job or vice versa. But anyway, y'all know how it is out there when you are a wife, you're a mom, family comes first, business comes first, so I just had to take care of that. Other than that, I would have been finished with it had it not been for that brief interruption. But again, before I shut it down, please hit that like button. Anything I've said in the video is based off of my mere opinion. Nothing that I said is actual factual. It's all alleged. So let's just say that to keep it clean. So anyway, y'all, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all ladies so much for joining the lounge, y'all. And I'll be seeing y'all soon. Y'all take care. Big ups to all my Mocha Minion members who have decided to become a member. I appreciate y'all so much as well. Those who cannot become a member right now, I appreciate you just for showing me your support and just hanging out with me today. So y'all be blessed and y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.